Welcome back to Sunday. Well, as lead singer of the Australian group Savage Garden, Darren Hayes teamed up with guitarist Daniel Jones in the 1990s to produce one of Australia's most popular music acts, rivalling Kylie and INXS. Well, it's been almost 7 years since Savage Garden broke up, and since then, Darren has reinvented himself. These days, he's based in the UK and says he's never been happier. Well, last year he got married for the second time, but this time to a man. Sunday caught up with him during his recent trip to Australia.
The 1990s were the glory days for Savage Garden, two fresh-faced young Brisbane boys who captured the pop world and the public's imagination with catchy lyrics and boppy tunes.
I believe her son should never set upon an argument.
It was their innocence, special chemistry and talent that catapulted lead singer Darren Hayes and guitarist Daniel Jones to international fame as they turned out hit after hit. By the year 2000, Darren Hayes had relocated overseas. He'd separated from his wife and childhood sweetheart, Colby Taylor. They had been married for nearly 5 years. In 2001, Savage Garden split.
Creeping up on you is the wrong thing to do. I found your address, got your phone number too.
Since then, Darren Hayes has been reinventing himself as a solo artist. He's also rebuilt his personal life.
Hot off the presses. Very excited. I think it looks pretty good. I think it looks like value for money.
These days he lives in London, but he's returned to Australia to promote his solo album, This Delicate Thing We've Made. It's an album that lets him express some very personal thoughts.
You know, this record pretty much is the culmination of me getting myself out of a bit of a fix, really. You know, it was the end of a very dark period of my life. It was me saying goodbye to depression. It was me letting go of these expectations that I had to somehow fill the shoes of where I'd come from and suddenly sell millions and millions of records, and to compete with my musical past and that of the bands that had been so oppressive.
The lyrics of this first single from the album seem to echo his life's journey for the past few years.
On the verge of something wonderful.
On the Verge of Something Wonderful it's simple, actually. It's a song that's talking about being at a precipice or being at a crossroads in your life and not being afraid. In my life, I feel like I've always taken the road less travelled, and it hasn't always been easy, and that's what On the Verge of Something Wonderful is about.
He was indeed on the verge of something wonderful when he met this man, his partner, theatre director and animator Richard Cullen, 3.5 years ago. In June last year, Darren Hayes married the man of his dreams.
I have to say I kind of knew instantly that I was going to marry him. We met through mutual friends. It wasn't anything glamorous, but our first few hours together, there was such an incredible sense of déjà vu.
While close friends and family have long known of his sexuality, many fans were shocked by the revelation, especially because of his previous marriage.
My idea of marriage is that it's forever, and at that period in my life I wanted to have kids. You know, I wanted the white picket fence, I wanted it all, and you know, my DNA had other plans for me. We'd been married for about a year, and I was travelling around the world, and it was my publicist at the time, who ended up being one of my best friends. She had that conversation that some gay people need to have. She sat me down and she said, "Do you think you might be gay?" And at the time I was offended, and I was like, "How could you say that? You know, I'm married." And she said, "Yeah, but you blush every time this certain person walks into the room in the meetings. What's that about?" And in that instant, I think I felt that someone had seen inside my mind.
It's been an emotional and important time for him.
I'm a gay man. I am very public and very proud of who I am, and I guess I'm in an industry where a lot of people are afraid to be seen as being gay. You know, it's still new waters, I guess, for things like civil partnerships. Certainly in England, the fact that Richard and I could get married, it barely made a dent in the media, because I guess in that country, ironically, for such a conservative nation, sexuality isn't deemed to be that big of a deal.
Coming out publicly proved to be a liberating experience.
Whatever the tiny piece of the puzzle was in me that was perhaps ashamed of my sexuality was instantly solved. I think having a civil partnership made me feel like I mattered, like I wasn't a freak of nature, that my relationship was something real, and that's had a profound effect on my self-esteem, actually.